Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for episode 4. We're going to talk jigs, flipping, heavy. Let's get into the meat of it. All right, here we go. I'm going to start out with a swim jig. I love to throw a swim jig. It's a lot of fun. For a swim jig, I use as you could probably guess, a 735C. I love the 735C. Like I said before, in my opinion, is an all-around perfect rod for just about everything you want to do. It's designed for frogs, flipping, pitching, and small swim baits. Well, to me, a swim jig falls in that. I throw a 20-pound fluorocarbon on it, and then the reel is a Revo SX 7.3 to 1. 7.3 to 1. I speed up on my swim jig, okay? It's coming along, it's moving. I'm doing what's called the Alabama shake, or an actual I'll put a swim bait trailer on the back of this swim jig, big paddle tail, and roll it along next to boat docks or lay downs and things like that and fish it kind of like a spinner bait. But with a spinner bait, you got a tendency to get hung up every once in a while. Not a whole lot, but every once in a while. But I can take that swim jig and stop it and kill it inside limbs and whatnot, and I'll be all right with it. So a 735C for a swim jig is going to work really, really well for you. All right. Next, something I've gotten into recently, and it's become a whole lot of fun, and this is also on a 735C. Like I've said, 735C, the way to go. And that is a wobble head, or a biffle head, or whatever, football head with a hook, whatever anybody wants to call it. I call it a wobble head. It used to be a biffle head. And that's on a Revo STX with a, what is that, a 6.7-1. That's a 6.7-1 on this one. 20-pound fluorocarbon. And, it's the biffle head. You throw that thing out there, let it hit bottom, bring it along nice and slow. Whenever one hits it, thump, there it is. Or you feel them load up on it, or it'll just get heavy. Or actually, it'll turn to mush or real soft because it's swimming to you with it. Not as often as I would think, but the perfect hit would be like a jig. Thump, a good thump. But, the 735's got the backbone and the power and meat to really swing into him and put a good hook set into him. That's why 735 is what I use for a frog and things like that. A lot of my heavy stuff is done on a 735. But 20-pound fluorocarbon, 6.7-to-1 gear ratio Revo. Roll that biffle head along, feel that thump, lean into him. I mean, stick it home. All right. And then some of my favorite fishing is with a jig. This is a 764 C. It's a 7.6 4-power rod. It's used for Carolina rigs, light flipping, jigs, spinner baits, and small swim baits. Like I told you once before, Dobyns puts on the back of all his rods what his rods are designed for. As you can see that there, hopefully. This is an older rod. It's the original Champion series. I like it for my football heads. I use it for a football head jig out on the ledges or points and things like that. I believe that is a 6.4 to 1. I've had that reel so long that the gear ratios wore off of it. It's an older 11 ball bearing Revo SX, one of the original Revo SXs. But I believe it's a 6.4 to 1. The 764, like I said, I use for my football head jigs to drag it along out there on ledges, hop it out on ledges or on points and things like that. Just it's a good 7.6 rod. The 4 power gives me enough power to really lean into a fish out on the ledge. 20-pound fluorocarbon on this also. My line selection is really super simple when it comes to fishing. I work off the KISS method for everything. Keep it simple, stupid. 12-pound test on majority of my cranking. Unless it's a square bill, then it's 15. I use 20-pound test on fluorocarbon on pretty much anything. except for cranking and my spinner baits. My spinner baits, I use a 15-pound test on one of them that I go deeper with, and a 12-pound or 20-pound test on my shallow one. You know, I don't have tons of different line sizes. I don't think I need them. And anything top water is done with braid. I try to go with the heaviest line and heaviest reel and heaviest rod I can get away with. It may cost me a bite or two, but I feel by the end of the day, I've got a better chance of sticking and landing a big fish than somebody that prefers to go out there with lighter line and spend 15, 20, 30 minutes fighting one fish. I'd rather stick him, crank a couple times, and get him in the boat and move on to the next fish. Right? So with that, that leads me into some of my favorite rods again. Well, actually, all the Dobyns rods, I love every one of them. There's not one that I dislike, right? But other than frogging, my favorite technique next to that is flipping. I love to flip. I mean, absolutely love to flip. This rod is designed, it's a 765 flip. It is designed for one thing. I'm sure you can read that. Flip and stick. That is all it's designed for. So, all my Texas rigging is done on a 765 flip. Absolutely love this. The reel is a Revo Rocket, 9.01 Revo Rocket. Is what I use. 20-pound fluorocarbon, and like I said, it is what it is. It's designed to flip. This is a heavy-duty rod made to stick them, crank them, and get them out of there quick, fast, and in a hurry. I use that for my Texas rig. I use a 765 flip for my jig, right? And that there also has a Revo 9.01 Revo Rocket, right? 20-pound fluoro. And then I also have, which I have to get a new one. I broke it. Not on a fish. I snapped it in the rod locker. We're not going to talk about it. And that's a 766 flip. This is a 766 power rod. This is my punching rod. This one here is the ounce, 2 ounce, big heavy, you know, stick it in the grass, pop it a couple times, crank him and wrench him out of there. That one there, I believe I throw a 7.6-1. I believe that's what it is, a Revo 7.6-1. I don't do a rocket on it. I did come down to 7.6-1. So a little bit more horsepower in my gear ratio. So, like I said, that one I gotta get a new rod. I broke it. You see, rod locker break. It's 100% my fault. Yeah, it's actually quite heartbreaking. But 766 flip if you're gonna do some really heavy punching grass and things like that. Other than that, you can get by with a 765 flip to flip everything else. I flip bushes with a 765, light grass, I mean pads, I flip with a 765. You know, only whenever you have to go super heavy and down that Florida grass and that Texas hydrilla, you need to get a 766. It's almost a backbone to it. That's the flipping or bottom bouncing baits. Next we'll go into a couple specialty rods, and then after that, the dreaded finesse. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the water.